Well, good morning, everybody. How are all my friends and extended family this morning? Hope you guys are doing excellent. We're ready for another show, guys. I'm gonna just bring the microphone a little closer to my face so you can hear me a little bit better. Alrighty. Is that better, guys? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Alrighty. How's everyone? Hey, you know what it is about the holidays? You forget what day it is. I don't know if you guys are like me, but when I'm on holiday mode, I don't remember what day it is. I could honestly not tell you. I had to think about it. But I remembered it was Sunday today. So, you know what Sunday is? It's the time where we all gather and worship the tone, the gods of tone. I'm a little quirky today. I might be saying strange things today, but I'm glad you guys are here. Hey, I have an interesting show lined up for you guys, and I hope that you guys have some interesting questions for me. I'm going to leave most of the floor to you guys today to talk about whatever topics you find interesting so I don't hog the airways, and can enjoy my coffee. Cheers, everybody. So I hope you guys survived Christmas. And the next round, of course, is New Year's. And this time of year is always interesting because everybody reflects back on the past year, good or bad, hopefully more good than bad. And, we take stock of what happened during the last year or so. So if your year was full of good things, be thankful. If it wasn't, well, chalk it up to experience and make it better this year. So let me say good morning to the boys here because, it felt like a long time since last week for whatever reason. It just felt like a long week, I guess, with all the different activities taking place. It just felt longer than normal. So Jack is here. Good morning, Jack. And Jack says that his new pickups are Wilkerson's M Series Vintage Classic. I believe you meant Wilkinson's. I like those types of pickups. They're very they're surprisingly good. I don't think that a lot of people know that some of these more budget-friendly pickups can be really good. And I've tried a few of the Wilkinsons. You almost made me say Wilkersons almost. Now, Jack, those pickups, were those the Alnico 5s? Just refresh my memory because my memory is good, but it's very short. Dan, good morning. And Shane is here. He says he's been active this past week. Shane says he's purchased 2 guitars on impulse. Of course. It never works any other way, Shane. It's always impulse. A Donner Telecaster for $40. That's a pretty good deal. And an Epi Les Paul special for $110. So tell me, Shane, how did you swing a $40 Donner? Was that used? You bought it used someplace, I assume. I think the Donners usually cost a little more than $40. So tell us your opinion. Which one do you prefer? The good, the bad, the ugly? Let's talk about it. Steven's here as well. Good morning, Steven. Steven's still he's still moving. Steven, it seems like you've been moving all year, dude. He says only 3 days left to move the rest of my stuff. Okay, so the crunch is on. We're rooting for you, Steven. We know you can do it. We have faith. Poor Steven. I wish I was around there to give him a hand, man. If anyone's around Steven's area, man, yeah, give him a hand. Poor guy. He's been moving like non-stop for the past 6 months, I think. Rich is here. He says Donner Telecasters are great mod platforms. I tend to agree with you. I think they are too. It's me, Don P. Good morning. John ZD351. He's jumping straight to the poll question. Did I mention that there is a poll question today? Let me back up. Today's show I'm jumping ahead. 237 is today's show, just in case you're losing track, as I almost did. And basically, we have a poll question for you guys, as usual. I try and throw one in every week. So those of you that are regulars here, and I think a lot of you are, and I appreciate that, go into the community tab on the Addicted to Gear channel, and there's always a poll question there, and we have one for you guys today as well. And I tend to save the poll questions till, I would say, 3/4 into the show, more or less. So if you guys haven't seen it, just take a look, and we'll talk about it in a little while. We're going to probably be online today for about an hour or so. Usually, sometimes I go a little bit longer, just because people trickle in towards the end or middle of the show. And we should not be disturbed by ads today, because I specifically turned them off. Who's with me? I got fed up. I said, that's it. I'm tired of YouTube ads interrupting the show. It's really annoying, and I agree with you guys 110%. So I turned them off. So that's my little gift to you today. Hopefully you'll appreciate it. All right. So Paul's here today. Paul, he says he's got some comment on the Wilkinson. He says the Wilkinson things are very good. I have many times been in contact with Trev. He gives me very valuable and precise solutions to problems, and even sends me to his friends that know more. So there you go. Thumbs up for the Wilkinson people from Paul. Thank you for that, Paul. Time Surfing Alien says, I sold my truck so people would stop asking me to help them move. That is one thing that I noticed about people who do own trucks. You are automatically going to be, I guess, volunteered to help. That is the downside. But you make a lot of friends. The guitar, I can't speak this morning. The guitarologist, I can't even say it. He says, I bought 0 guitar items this Christmas. How about you guys? Well, that's one of the things that I wanted to talk about today. And I do have it on my list. So there's the poll question. I wanted to talk about the New Year resolution, or lack of New Year resolution, because honestly, I think New Year resolutions are bogus. And I'll explain why. Because you haven't done squat the whole year. Let's be honest, folks. Honest Tony, they call me. You haven't done squat the whole year, and now at the end of the year, you're feeling guilty, and you're saying to yourself, oh, this year, I'm going to the gym, or this year, I'm going to lose weight, or this year, I'm going to stop drinking. We know that most of those things won't happen, right? I don't want to be a pessimist, but let's be honest. So I don't usually believe in New Year's resolutions, because I don't think people stick to them anyway. Now, if you're different, prove me wrong. And if you do have some kind of New Year resolution, let us know what it is. I mean, the thing that I'm striving for in the new year is, and it's not a resolution, it's to declutter. I've accumulated too much gear, said no one ever, that produces a gear show. But it's time for me to thin the herd, I think. And this year, I would like to perhaps liquidate some of the items that I don't use as much and focus more on the ones that I do. And perhaps, I don't necessarily feel like I need to buy new stuff. If something, tickles my fancy, I will. But I like to take the stuff that I already have and find ways to make it better. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Like, for example, I have a few Les Paul style guitars, but my all-time favorite is still my Tokai, my Japanese Tokai, and I have three Tokais, but there's one of them in particular that I really, really like, and I think that particular guitar became extremely dear to my heart because of the pickups that I put in there. And they are a set of high order pickups that I mentioned a few times here on the channel. And this fellow makes extremely good sounding pickups. He doesn't advertise, he doesn't have a store. You have to contact him through his rather outdated website. It looks like a website that was created in the 1980s. But the guy knows his stuff. And those pickups are by far some of my favorite pickups, and they're not necessarily extremely expensive. They're very reasonably priced for the sounds that you get. So, you know, what I would do is maybe invest in some of my other guitars and maybe upgrade some of the pickups, for example, to make them sound better than what they do and really bring them up a notch. You know, take stock of the items that you have and find ways to make them better. You don't necessarily have to spend a lot of money, and you can do it gradually too. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for this upcoming year. How about you guys? Steven says he already quit smoking 35 years ago. Well, that's great, Steven. Fantastic, dude. Quit drinking 6 years ago. New Year's resolution will be focusing on my music now that I'm finally retired. That's fantastic, dude. Think about your health. Make yourself as healthy as possible. Keep yourself that way. And focusing on music is a great psychological, it has tons of psychological benefits, in my opinion. Now, guys, there's 38 people that have trickled in so far. Hopefully a few more of you will trickle in soon. Please give me a thumbs up if you don't mind. That would help. I always appreciate you guys. And of course, knowing that you're there and actively engaged in the conversation always helps me as well. Makes things more interesting on my side. Vinny says his New Year resolution is forming a band again. Yeah. How many of you out there are currently in some sort of a band? Say I if you are. I don't know. Put your hand up or give me a little indication. I'm curious. I think, you know, depending on where you are in your playing, there's people out there that will match, you know, what you're doing in terms of your playing abilities. And a lot of people tend to wait. You know, they feel like they have to be Eddie Van Halen before they try and start a band or play with other people. And I think that's the wrong approach, honestly. I honestly feel like you learn so much just by playing with other people. I think that's where you learn most of your chops, your confidence, your timing. Nothing beats playing with a real band. And it kind of rips off the cover or the band-aids on your playing style, because if you're not confident and you're not let's say proficient enough, you will see all of your defects when you're playing with a band when it comes to timing and everything like that. So it's an eye-opener. But if the people you're playing with are at the same level and patient enough, you learn as a group and you become better as a unit. And it really, you can see yourself advance. You know, after a couple of weeks, couple of months, you see a huge difference. And I honestly feel one of the best things you can do if you're playing with a band and you're not there yet, like you're still honing your skills, learning some songs together, maybe the songs haven't gelled yet, is to record yourself, either with an iPhone, you know, video, audio, whatever. Just record yourselves playing, because you hear everything when you listen back. And sometimes when you're playing in the moment, you're not going to actually be paying attention to the overall sound. You're so into analyzing what you're doing individually that you're not necessarily playing for the song anymore. You're just playing your individual part, and things start to fall apart a little bit. So it's a good way to learn. I just dropped my pick, so I'm going to grab another one out of the pack here. Here we go. Alrighty. If you guys are curious, I'm playing this Frankenstrats, hand built by me, and I'm actually playing through my Trident today, and it's not the gum. The Trident from NewX is a unit that I talked about and did a video about just, I think I just put it up the other day. I had to do that. I don't know. By the way, great little unit, the Trident. For those of you who caught the video, this is something that I got just the other day, and I'm loving it. It's fantastic. Plays really well, and a lot of you might not know too much about it, so I'll put the link to the video here for you guys if you want to watch it later. Enjoy that when you have a moment. If you're looking for a very sort of, I'm going to say, very compact, I would say simple or simpler multi-effects unit that still feels like a pedal, I would strongly recommend you check it out. It's got some really nice sounds in there, man. And I'm still learning a lot of the functions and features that I haven't had an opportunity to experiment with too much. But it's got everything that I need in there and nothing that I don't. That's a sign of a good multi-effects unit to me, because a lot of times what ends up happening is you end up getting something that is way over what you need. And then what ends up happening is that you spend your time tweaking and playing around with things that you don't know how to use, and you spend more time tweaking than actually playing. And that's never a good thing. You fall down the rabbit hole. I like things that are kind of on par with my skill level, so then I don't have to necessarily go crazy. You know what I mean? So check that out if you get an opportunity. D-Max says, I still have to try out the NewX gear. I hear the diamond pedal that does a Vox sound is really good. Yeah. So this is the one you're talking about, I think, right? This guy? Yeah. Now, I've only played around with this very briefly, and it does do the Vox thing really nicely. Very affordable pedal too. I'm still playing around with it to figure out the sweet spot. When I say sweet spot, it's really what amps it plays better with. As you know, like, you might end up getting a pedal or multi-effects or whatnot, and depending on what you're playing it with, they don't always mesh well. And what I like to do is I like to take something that I bring in, something nice. It could be a little pedal like that, or something else, multi-effects or whatnot. And I like to do the round robin and then play the pedal with all my different amps and be able to see how it meshes with each one. And then usually what ends up happening, there's one specific amp that works really, really well. If you get lucky, you might stumble on a pedal that works really well with all of your amps, but it's rarely the case. But you will see that certain pedals do wonderful things with specific amps, you know? So it's a question of finding out which ones those are. Ken says, I saw the Trident video. That sounds great. Great. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Jack says he's still playing his Epiphone Dot. I love the sound of the pickups, and I don't know what they are. Interesting. Well, if it's an original Epiphone, most probably they're Epiphone style pickups. Sometimes they'll put the Epiphone version of the 57 Classics in there. But Jack, if it sounds good, it's good. All right, I'm going to scroll down here because I'm missing a lot of the comments. So Cushman says, I picked up an AIO Gold Top used. Yeah, those AIO guitars are really nice. I had reviewed a Telecaster at one point, and it was a very solid guitar. Now, Cushman, I'm not that familiar with the gold tops that they have, but they do have a lot of nice looking and sounding guitars. So tell us how you like the gold top. David wants to know, how do you find other musicians? I used to play with other people, but it's been a long time and I don't know anyone locally. How do you meet people? That's an excellent question, David. I can give you some insights on that. I mean, usually different communities do have, it could be online community boards. It could be, for example, Kijiji, Craigslist. It could be Facebook Marketplace. It could be Facebook itself, Instagram. There's a lot of people creating community groups specifically for different topics. And most of the time you will find groups dedicated to musicians looking for other musicians. There are a few websites that also do that, but in my experience, they haven't worked all that well. What I did is I did a combination of things. I contacted some friends that I know are musicians and that I felt would be interested in joining me and playing along. And I also put an ad in, I think it was Kijiji at the time, just describing what I was looking for, and you do get some responses. And if you get lucky, you might find the right person. The fellow that answered our ad is still playing with us 10 years later. So if you get lucky, you find the right mix. I think the right mix of people is the most important thing. It's not necessarily playing skill. Obviously, you want somebody that can play, but I think it's more important to have the right attitude. Because if you get a guy that can play really well and's got a bad attitude, it just brings everything down. Jack wants to know if I've seen the Epiphone reissue of the 1955 Les Paul with P90s. I've seen the reissue, but I've seen one reissue, but it wasn't a Les Paul. Let me see here. Maybe I missed it. Oof. All right. Is it the gold one? I'm just looking to see which one it is. Is it the Les Paul Jr.? Give me a little bit of information, Jack. Is it the Junior? Hey, David. That's what we're here for, dude. Advice. Yeah, keep it coming. If you have any other questions, you need any help with anything else, let us know. That's why we're here, dude. All right. Hey, Presley. What's happening, dude? Presley's in the house. Presley always has good advice as well. So if you have any guitar building questions, Presley has a lot of experience in that area. Okay, I'm just scrolling back a little bit in case I missed any other questions here, because sometimes I do. So John, I think, is aligned with my thought process. He says, I made a New Year's resolution in 1989 not to make any more New Year's resolutions. Glad to say I've kept that ever since. Yes, indeed. I would say, it doesn't have to be the end of the year to make a New Year's resolution. You can basically make your life better anytime. Jack says he quit drinking 70 days ago. Hey, Jack. Dude, I think that's a great thing. You know what I mean? There's a couple of things that are very difficult to stop doing. Drinking is definitely one of them. Smoking is high up there on the list. But look at it this way. You're doing your body a great favor by keeping yourself healthy as possible. So that's great, man. Carry on, dude. D-Max says, I'd like to try Tokai sometime. Shane from In the Blues raves about this Tokai Les Paul also. Yeah, I mean, I would not have known way back when I bought that guitar that it would end up being one of my favorites. I wasn't expecting that to happen. But I'm telling you, ever since I got that guitar, I've been comparing it to a lot of other guitars, and it always comes out on top for me. I don't know what it is about that specific one. Now, I'm not going to say that all of the Tokais are the same, because they're not. I have 3 of them. All 3 are made in Japan, but the one, my main one, and you've probably seen it on my channel a couple of times, definitely is quite a bit, I would say, above the rest, just in terms of tonality, feel, everything, And I can't explain why exactly. It just feels good. And it could be a combination of just what I like. It just happens to fit into the category and have the features that I like, So Jack says it wasn't the Junior, it was the Les Paul. I haven't really paid attention, Jack. I would have to look and just see what's going on there. Guitarologist, man, say that 5 times fast. Guitarologist says, I was thinking about buying another CG Chinese guitar before tariffs might hurt the price. What do you think about buying your Chinese stuff now? We don't really know. I mean, who can really tell what's going to happen, right? I think if tariffs do come in, and I don't want to turn this into a political show or anything like that, but I think if tariffs do come in, I think they're going to hurt everyone. It's not just going to be, the Chinese or the Canadians or whatever. I think it's reciprocal. The other people are going to suffer as well. So prices are just going to go up, and that's not always a good thing. Searching for Tone says, well, let me start with this one here. It's like gas. The stuff in the ground goes up in price before the new price hit because they have to pay for incoming stuff. Also, speaking with a guitar company, it won't go up only 60%. The company isn't going to match to break even. It will go up 100%, and to think the company is going to eat some cost. Yeah, generally, if anything does go up in terms of tariffs, it gets passed on to the customer. So there's no way that companies are going to be absorbing that tariff. So you can be darn sure that prices will continue to go up if that does happen. So hopefully it doesn't, but we'll see. We never know. Eddie Jr. says, I may be wrong, but I don't think the tariffs will be an across-the-board tax. It may just be certain items. But I'm an idiot. Well, from my experience, Eddie, the last time we were looking at tariffs, the last time Trump was in power, the way that tariffs worked was exactly that. It was not across the board. It was on specific items being made overseas or in other countries. And it would be like a sliding scale type of percentage. So it wouldn't be a fixed, let's say 40% on every single item. It would be a certain percentage on the parts going into the actual item being made. So it's a little bit more complicated to calculate than just a flat out tariff. But anyways, we'll see. Punk Rocket says, ooh, EVH Frankenstrat. I played the same one at Guitar Center last week. I was so mad I couldn't get it. I don't have $2,000. Well, Punk Rocket, this one didn't cost me $2,000. Because I made this one. I built it myself. So I made it to my specs. I painted it, carved the body. Not carved the body, but routed out the body. And got all the parts for it and put it all together the way I wanted. And guess what? It didn't cost me $2,000. It's funny that, you can build a guitar that can rival or surpass some of the guitars that you can get off the shelf for a fraction of the cost. Because prices are going up so much, it's getting rather difficult to get good deals on guitars anymore. Cheers, guys. Just a little coffee. All right. Fletcher's here. Hey, Fletcher. Nice to see you, my friend. Fletcher seems like a new name that I haven't seen here too often. He says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone. I hope none of the China stuff goes up because I love my Epiphone and my Squire and I might want to get some more someday. I agree. I agree to that, man. Nobody wants anything to become more expensive. We all want to keep prices down. Yep. Thanks, Fletcher. Thank you for the kind words. One of my favorite guitars. I love playing this thing. Once you get it dialed in, it's beautiful. Jack says, Tony, have you seen the fake Seymour Duncan on the internet? They advertise them for $50. You're talking about the pickups now? Yeah, there's a lot of them, man. Jack, I spoke about that a couple of shows back. You got to be so careful, even with pickups nowadays, especially on eBay. Fleabay, I call it. Because I've seen fake 57 Classics. I've seen fake Seymour Duncans. There's a lot of stuff that can be faked rather easily when it comes to pickups. And a lot of people won't know that they don't have the real thing in their hands. I've seen copies of 57 Classics on some of these overseas websites. I'm not going to name which ones, but you can get a whole, like a 2-set pickup kit, let's say, or set for like $50 or $60 or whatever it is for 2 of them. And then these people will buy those and flip them for like, $150 or $175 for both of them. So they're basically fleecing people out of their hard-earned money. And here you're happy you get a set of pickups and you bring it home and then put it in your guitar and you're like, Tony doesn't know what he's talking about. 57 Classics suck. They don't sound good at all. And then little do you know that the ones that you've put into your guitar are not even actually real ones. So there's that. Fletcher says, this is only my 2nd episode. Well, welcome back, Fletcher. Thank you for joining. Hopefully that won't be your last. Hey, this is the last show of 2024. So we wanted to talk about New Year's resolutions or lack of. We wanted to, maybe we should talk about the best gear or the best guitar that you've purchased in 2024. Maybe we can just leave it at the best purchase you've made in 2024 and just talk about that, Say like, what have you purchased? Let me just put this guitar down for a second. Yeah, I want to switch my chairs. Today I want to switch my chair a little bit here and maybe just get a little bit more comfortable with you guys here. I need something that has a back. Yeah, that's better. I don't do this too often, but today, being it's going to be the last show of the year, let's do this in comfort. All right, so yeah, what did you guys buy this year that that you really liked? It could be a guitar, it could be a pedal, amplifier, something. I know a lot of you purchased a lot of stuff, so you might have to think back and say, yeah, what did I buy that actually made me pretty happy? I'm gonna tell you and usually this is just me. Usually, and maybe you guys are the same. A lot of times, it's the last stuff that you bought that you feel is the best for whatever reason. I don't know why that is, but it's almost like you have that honeymoon phase. You bring something in, you're totally in love with it. It's the best thing since sliced bread. And then slowly, a couple weeks in, you might change your mind about it. So Fletcher Floyd says, I actually bought a fake Hot Rails for my Strat from eBay, and it sounded terrible. But now I have a real Hot Rails, and it's my all-time favorite. Start setup for heavier rock. I think you mean Strat setup for heavier rock. A lot of those Hot Rail pickups also, for some reason, get like cloned or copied. I don't know why. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's easy to do for whatever reason. It's a shame. It's a shame that people will go to those lengths to screw other people. But it makes you aware. Now, how did you know those were fake, Fletcher? Sometimes it's really hard to tell. Now, Vinny's World says that his best purchase was his Made in Japan Hybrid 2 Jazzmaster and Quantum 3 Guitar Vault. Two very nice purchases there. Now, Vinny, when did you purchase those? Was that early on in the year or just recently? I don't know if you mentioned when you purchased them. And I get a lot of people talking to me about new purchases, so I kind of lose track of when they were actually purchased. Time Surfing Alien says his best purchase was my IV 350 Trans Black. And the IV, those IV 350s. Now, I know Ivy makes quite a few different models, and the 350, is that, let me just see something here. I'm just trying to get facts straight. A lot of people rave about those Ivy guitars, by the way. So the 350 is not like the 250. The 250 is like a jazz style guitar, if I'm not mistaken. Like a Jazzmaster. Now the 350, which I don't see here. Huh. How come I don't see the 350? I don't see it here. I'll have to find it later. Well, the important thing is that you found the one that you like and you're enjoying it. Enjoy the heck out of it. NFM says his best guitar purchase was the Gibson Les Paul Studio. Yeah, a lot of people stay away from the studios, but I think maybe they're making them better. I've only tried a studio a long time ago. Like this was probably more than 10 years ago for sure. And the one I pulled off the wall wasn't set up properly, so maybe for that reason I didn't really bond with it that well. But a lot of people that have been trying the Gibson Les Paul Studios recently tell me that they sound really good and they play really well. So I haven't tried one recently. I guess I should try one again. Well, I'm falling behind over here. All right, I'm scrolling down to the bottom, guys, so if I skip your question, I apologize, but I'm falling way behind. Now, Profile Production says he got a new old guitar from his son, He bought it at an antique show. It's a Silvertone classical no truss rod in awesome shape. I think they were sold at Sears. Any info? The Silvertone rings a bell. No pun intended. Let me see. Silvertone. They could have been sold at Sears. Well, they had a few different ones. So this is there's quite a few different ones. Now, are you planning on modding the guitar or upgrading it or something like that? What's the plan on that? What are you planning to do to it? Stoked about my new British Racing Green Telecaster I just got. Hey, cool. What's the brand? Is this a name brand, a no-name brand? Give us a little bit more information on that. Danielle said he splurged when he saw a Benedetto 16B at a good price. Nice guitar, but find myself being reluctant to bringing it out. It's staying home during these cold winter months for sure. Yeah, that's a common thing. You know, if you have a really nice guitar, you don't want to damage it, especially in the winter time. I tend to agree. My, I guess, more prized guitars tend to stay in the cases a little bit longer, especially in the winter time. And make sure you have some good humidification in your room if you're keeping it in, it's in your basement or wherever. Give your guitars a spa day. It's always nice to have a little bit of humidification in the room. Dan says, best purchase this year is my ESP Lynch Desert Eagle bought as a B stock direct from ESP for $350, 350 off cost, not $350. Have no idea where the blemish is. Isn't that great, Dan? When you can save yourself a pocket full of money and you can't even find the blemish. Honestly, many times it doesn't really matter. You're probably going to put a blemish of your own in there sometime soon anyway. So with $350, you can buy yourself a pretty nice used amplifier or a nice collection of pedals too to go along with that. So yeah, I would say that's a really nice purchase. Congratulations on that. I love deals like that. Paul says his list includes his Friedman IRX. I know that he mentioned how much he liked the sound of that last week, I think it was. The Keeley Super Bass 200 watts, made it in MIAB. The Demon FX. Z Drive, part for part copy of the Hermida Zen Drive. So all really nice stuff there. And the Friedman you're not alone. A lot of people have mentioned to me how much they like the Friedman IRX. So that's something I'm curious about checking out as well eventually. Morning, Davis. Thank you for trickling in. Hope you're doing well. Profile Production has a bunch of question marks here. What's up, Profile? Did you change your mind about asking a question or something? Here we have someone saying that he's got a 60th anniversary Fender CBS 1954, very nice feel. But on the high E, when bends on the 12th fret, I got a string choke. No idea why, but bending on the 11th and other frets are well. So you probably just have a high fret there. That's what it sounds like to me. Not a big deal. Easy fix. You can try, before doing any kind of fret leveling or anything like that, you can try just tapping when you're bending on the 12th fret. Generally, if you're bending on the 12th fret, the choke is probably happening on the next fret up. So you can just tap it down a little bit with a, gently tap it down. Don't dent your frets. If you have a rubber mallet or something that you can just tap the fret in, sometimes it'll be enough to make that go away. A lot of the older style Fender guitars have a the radius on those guitars could be like nine-inch radius, sometimes even less, and it makes it tricky when bending sometimes, depending on how high you're bending. But generally, it's just a high fret, not a big deal. You can fix that pretty easy. Profile Production says this one stamped 57-660. Yeah, if you do a search on Google, you might be able to find some historical information on it. Sometimes there's websites that are specialty websites that have information on these guitars profile. Now, Music and Gear says, love my Friedman. The tubes heat my living room. I gotta say, I love my Friedman too. I was playing it yesterday, just doing the round robin with the Brunetti here, the Marshall behind me, the Friedman, my Supersonic here, and my Princeton. And I was getting constant reminders that I was in a loud environment. And I don't need the watch to tell me that. I got my tinnitus in my ears that will tell me that most of the time. All right, Marcel is here. Yeah, so someone here says that he's watched my fret leveling video. Cool info. Yeah, so if anybody here is not confident about doing fret leveling, you can check out that video. I'm basically showing how I do it. Again, in my vast repertoire of videos, there's quite a few videos there where I'm working on guitars. I'm not saying that my way or my method is the best method. It's just how I like to do it. But it can help you out. Billy Beer says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, fellows. Yeah, you too, Billy. Christmas is over, but we're heading straight for the new year. So hopefully it's going to be a good one. I'm feeling confident about that. Fletcher says, any musicians close to Kentucky? It's so hard to find folks to even jam with around here. Those Silvertones sound like no other guitars I've played. Nice find. Yeah. Sometimes we overlook the old stuff. We just feel like, it can't be good. It's old. And you couldn't be more wrong sometimes. I'm telling you, take a chance. You might be pleasantly surprised. William says he plucked up a Vola OZ, an Ibanez RG550, a Splon Quick Rod, EVH 5150, 50 watt Stealth, and a bunch of pedals. So, William, you've been quite busy. All very nice gear there. Yeah. The Ibanez, solid guitar for sure. I haven't tried the Vola. The Quick Rod, I hear nothing but good things about Quick Rod. They're basically, a modded Marshall platform. The EVH 5150 50 watt also is pretty cool as well. And I guess what all that gear, I almost said all that beer, all that gear is keeping you quite busy and probably out of trouble. One pedal, I'm gonna share this with you guys. I just bought this the other day. Very inexpensive pedal. Have you guys tried one of these? This is called the Joyo Bright Day Overdrive, and it's about a $50 pedal. Pretty inexpensive. I wanted to try it because I've heard good things about it, and people say that it's sort of in the ballpark of the Blues Driver pedal. I can't really say it sounds like a Blues Driver to me because it has a lot of gain on tap. And it also has a vintage modern switch here. And the modern switch introduces a lot more bottom end that fills out the tone. But I'm quite impressed for $50. I wasn't expecting much out of this pedal. And yesterday I played it with a bunch of amps here. And it sounded good with all of them. The only one where I didn't feel it made much of a difference was my Marshall, my Studio Vintage. Because it basically sounded like the Marshall. So like it was kind of redundant. But on all of the other amps, the Brunetti, the clean channel of the Brunetti, it introduced another flavor of overdrive, because the Brunetti has plenty of natural overdrive itself. But putting this pedal into the clean channel really gave it a nice flavor. It worked very well with my Princeton. It really made the Princeton, it turned it into a fire-breathing dragon. For those of you who have a Princeton and you don't want to spend a lot of money, but you want that Princeton to punch a little harder, just get one of these $50 pedals. Bright Day. I'll do a video on this, I guess, at some point. But specifically on the Princeton, I wasn't expecting how good it sounded. It really sounded great. I was playing the Princeton with, I tried it with a Telecaster. I tried it with a more modern guitar, and then I switched over to a Les Paul. All sounded great. I think the Les Paul sounded the best with this pedal. So honestly, for $50, man, you can't go wrong. I bought this on Amazon too, so if you don't like it, you can always return it. But I'm keeping this one. I think this one generally surprised me, and I still like the Joyo stuff. I think some of the Joyo stuff is really quite good. So that one is my, I guess, one of my picks for cool gear of 2024. Now, Marcel says, my Stratosonic got canceled by the seller. I did reach out to Fender and they sent me the wiring diagram. Why did it get canceled by the seller, Marcel? He didn't want to ship? That sucks. I hate when that happens. You have your heart set on something and then it doesn't go through. Presley says he's been super happy with the VibeWorks guitar kits. Very cool. Haven't tried them. For the set necks I've been building, I completed 2 PRS style builds, and I'm about to glue in the neck of the parlor style 90s P90 guitar I'm building. I should check them out. If ever I get the itch to build another guitar, maybe I'll try those kits. If you give them good reviews, Presley, I trust you, dude. You should check them out. I still have a guitar kit in a box in my garage. It's a Les Paul style kit that I haven't actually started yet. You know, you have to be psyched up to start these guitar projects because they usually last pretty long, especially if you're going to have to finish the guitar and everything in terms of painting it and staining it and all of that stuff. And I don't like to start a guitar project when I don't have time to finish it, because there's nothing worse than starting something and then putting it aside. And then you go back to it 6 months later, you don't remember where you put the parts, and you know, you have to start from scratch again. I hate doing that. But I still have it there. It's a cool guitar kit and I'm looking forward to building it at some point. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I want to make it different. So David says, I assumed that the Joyo Bright Day is a spin on the GHS Morning Glory, which is a spin on the Blues Driver. That's what I understand too, David. I haven't tried the Morning Glory, but I think it's very similar. All three are kind of playing in the same ballpark. But I'm always happy when I can get a nice sounding pedal for like $50 or so, or under even. I always feel like it's Christmas when I can get something good for not too much money. And that's why I like to share this with you guys. Music and Gear says Joyo has some great pedals for the price point. They do, but you have to be careful. I have come across a few that I didn't feel were great. The newer ones are extremely good. The ones with the different casings, those are really good. I can vouch for that. Dudes, I got boxes full of pedals. I can do pedal reviews till the cows come home for you guys, but I feel like pedal reviews are not necessarily attractive anymore. They take a lot of effort to put out, and then they don't usually do well. So I'm not that crazy about doing pedal reviews anymore. But I mean, if you guys want some, I can definitely create some for you guys. But I kind of spend time on other things. So I don't know. I'm not sure about pedal reviews. We'll see. We'll see what the new year brings. But I have plenty to show you guys if you wanna go there. I'm still waiting for Behringer to come out with their fuzz bender, because they've announced it, but they haven't come out with it yet. And they have the other pedal that they were coming out with too was the clone of the Univibe, which I will probably get just to try it out. So I've been keeping my eye on certain stores that carry that stuff to see if they have inventory, but they don't have inventory yet. So I'm assuming it's coming, probably around the time NAMM happens, but I'm not sure exactly when they will hit the stores. Have any of you started to see any of those in the wild? Paul says, Tony, there's a side-by-side Real Boss Wazacraft versus the Bright Day. Dead on same. I love mine. It's called Bright Day because of Green Day hits using the Boss. Hey, see? There you go. Now I know why. Bright Day, Green Day, Morning Glory. It's all good. Well, I was meaning to retry the Boss Blues Driver, because I mentioned to you guys back when I tried it last time, I wasn't very impressed and I sold it almost immediately. But maybe I was too hasty back then. Anyways, I picked this up and it scratches the itch, and it only cost me $50. So all's well that ends well, I think. Hey guys, please give us a thumbs up. We got almost 60 people in the house right now, and I would appreciate the love. As I mentioned earlier, I've disabled any kind of ads, so we should not get interrupted today. This is my little gift to you guys. I know how frustrating it is. Same goes for me, trust me. Whenever I'm talking to you guys and things get interrupted, I can tell, because people stop chatting and there's a lull and it kind of breaks the flow of the video, you know. Now, Marcel says that the seller did offer an extra 5% off, but hasn't sent me the correct link to order. The communication with them sucks, and I don't know if it's because of the holidays. It could be, Marcel. Where are you ordering it from? Just be careful that you don't get ripped off, because there are a lot of scams going on, especially at this time of the year. Try not to click on anything and on any links that you're not sure about. There's a lot of scams, man. This is why I like to deal face-to-face most of the time, because it avoids any issues. You get to see the merchandise. You can tell whether or not it's fake or damaged, or if there are any issues, before you actually send out any kind of money. When you're buying online or buying, something that has to be shipped, it's always a little bit more risky, and I'm usually a little bit more hesitant to do stuff like that, That's just me. This thing has saved me so many times, I can't tell you. The best thing ever is the depluggable jack on these headphones. So Music and Gear says pedal reviews equals about a quarter of your standard views, and the same work. Probably, I would say more than the same work. Because if you're going to do a pedal review, You're going to have to like get the sound right. You're going to have to be recording sound usually with a microphone in the room. The room has to be quiet. The house has to be quiet. You have to have enough time to re-record things if they don't sound well, or if the take wasn't good. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into those things. People don't realize how much time it takes, you know. Searching for Tone says, pedal reviews used to be viral videos. Now I'm lucky when one breaks 1,000 views. Exactly, dude. Exactly. This is why I don't bother anymore. There's no point, really. There's so many out there anyway. You know, why is yours going to be any different unless you can be more entertaining about it or something like that, right? Yeah. Anyways, YouTube is not what it used to be because it's saturated now. Everybody knows that, right? You can throw a rock and hit 3 people reviewing the same stuff you just reviewed. So you got to get lucky if you want to get, grow your channel and stuff like that. You got to provide additional value. And unfortunately, I don't have the cleavage to get up to 1 million followers or subscribers like some people do. We won't name names, but I think we know who we're talking about out there. So Paul says, Tony, I had the Morning Glory. The Joyo is night and day different. Okay, so why do they compare it with the Morning Glory? I've seen a couple of videos already trying to compare it. So are they barking up the wrong tree, Paul? What's going on with that? Music and Gear says, Eddie Jr., don't know. I wish the got the views. Love making them. I wish they got the views. Okay. I love making them. Okay. Get you. I get you. Okay. So Eddie says, so many affordable copies, software, a brand loyalty. Yeah. D-Max says, I got a Blues Driver built into my Angry Driver pedal, which has the Angry Charlie built into it as well. One of my favorite pedals of all time. You know what? There's so much choice. We're actually spoiled, I'm going to say. Look, I'm going to show you something real quick here, not to bore you guys or anything, but look at the software that comes with, where am I here? Let me just, hold on. Trying to get my face up on the thing here. Here we go. So this guy, here I am up here, guys. So this is a software that comes with a Trident, okay? And you can see all of the software, all of the sounds that we have here. But I was playing around with some of the pedals here. And one of the things that I'm dying to try, and I didn't hook up my expression pedal, is this thing. Now this is the, they call this the pitch bender, you know? You've probably seen this. I love this thing. It's so great because you can actually play your song, your music. Like here, let me just plug in my guitar. I'm going to show you real quick. Just make you hear the difference here. All right, let me just, so this is the software. Is my guitar still plugged in? Yes, it is. Okay. So it's on now. Let me just turn it off. All right. So you can just turn it off. So this is what the guitar sounds like with no pitch bender. Now with the pitch bender on, I can just put in like an octave above and you can fatten up the sound. Like here, let me just show you. If I strum a chord. I don't know, let's say we want to go to that. Now it sounds weird because it's being bent up, but if I go downwards, I don't know if you can hear it, but it immediately gives you a little bit more of a fatter tone. And again, I don't have this plugged into my expression pedal. So I can't really do this with my feet, but I'm dying to try this thing. And it's really cool because, you know, you buy this thing, you know, it's not inexpensive, but you have so many goodies to play with. So you get spoiled because, yeah, you can play with the real stuff. You can even plug the real stuff into the send return of that particular multi-effect, so you can play with any of these along with those as well. But you have so much at your disposal. You know what I mean? It's a great time to be a musician. It's just so much fun. You know, you can do so much with like very little these days. Ian says, not in stock yet, but pre-ordered at the new Behringer 69, the new Behringer 69 Vibe. I want to get that one too. The Univibe pedal. They also came out with the Clone and the Fuzz pedal. I think those three I'm probably going to order as well. Not that I need another Clone because I already have, but I want to just try it. I'm curious. So the one I'm really looking forward to trying is the Fuzz, the Fuzz Bender. That one I really want to try. And the Univibe. I think those are going to be really cool. So yeah, I didn't want to pre-order them. I think you can pre-order them, but why, you know, dish out the money before they're available? It's not like they're going to be limited run or anything like that. So yeah, David says, I like it when they copy the look of the pedal whose sound they are reproducing. Me too. And this is why I think the Behringer stuff is going to do really well, because till now they haven't done that. They've been sneaky about it. And especially they've been putting them into those plastic enclosures, which I'm not a big fan of. But I'm telling you, if Behringer ups their game and starts using nice enclosures and different enclosures like they're doing now, they're gonna rock and roll, man. They're gonna kill, guaranteed. Because the sound is good. I mean, the Behringer stuff, you know, overall, the ones that I've tried that are supposed to be clones of other pedals sound very good. The only thing I didn't like about them was the enclosure. Now, if you don't feel right about it, I understand. But it is what it is, you know. I'm perfectly happy if I can get stuff for cheap. So, Eddie says, am I the only one who didn't know the Pete in the Trident was Pete Thorne? Maybe you are the only one who didn't know that. Did you guys know that? Yeah, there's a couple of people that have made patches on the software. Pete Thorne was one of them. Yep. And I think there was also Greg Laoun, I think that's his last name, who does a lot of reviews of specific multi-effects units. He was one of them as well. Yeah, there's a few people. And also, if I just go to here, just going to check that off for you guys real quick, because I believe that one of my friends, also good friends who was also on the show, put a few patches together for the unit, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so the guys that are putting together some of the sounds in here, the Chop Tones people, Larry Mitchell, Pete Thorne, Reb Beck, Leon Todd, Gustavo Guerrera, who else? Joko Renasoto, and VNT, and who else? My good friend Jonathan Coe, who also was on the channel, also created a few patches. So some well-known people, and the patches generally sound good. I tend to tweak to my liking. Haven't spent too much tweaking with this one yet, but I will. It sounds great. Max says, hey, Tony, has the EVH Frankenstrat, very cool sounding instrument. Yeah, but like I said earlier, Max, this is not an off-the-shelf version. This is the one I built. This is was a custom build. I've talked about this a couple of times. I didn't put the reflectors on. I have the reflectors, but I didn't put them on. I don't know if I need to put reflectors on this thing. What do you guys think? Would you put the reflectors on? It's kind of overkill for me, having the reflectors. But I have them. I'm just trying to adjust my seat here. Oh, it's too low. Man, hard to get comfortable. I need to get a better stool or something. Ian said, I never played a clon or clone. I might get that also. Have to see what the hype is about. You know, you got to take it with a grain of salt, Ian. All that hype. I don't know if they're going to actually sound like a clone. But I'm sure you can get some great tones out of it anyway, regardless. So why not try it out? Presley says, no reflectors, no capes. Do you guys remember that on Despicable Me? No, in The Incredibles. The Incredibles. The girl Maud. No capes. When they were talking about how the superheroes would always falter their demise with the capes getting caught in the engines of the planes and all this kind of stuff. No capes. Oh, I still have my thing on. The pitch thingy. I always feel like I'm going to break that string when I... I always feel like it's strange playing another song on an EVH guitar. You know, here I am playing Billy Idol songs on an EVH guitar, but I just love Steve Stevens sounds. And of course, when you have a JCM 800 style sound, that's the one to play. I have the noise gate also engaged here, so that's why you're hearing when I'm plucking really soft, it sounds a little bit weird. Max says, love it, Tony. I'll be painting my own EVH Frankenstrat in 3 months' time when weather gets better. Dude, that's awesome. Oh, I'm doubled up here. You're seeing me big and small. I forgot to turn that off. Max, send me some pictures, man, when you're done. I'd love to see it. Especially if it's a custom build. I love those things. There's quite a few people here that like to build their own guitars. So if you're one of them, let us know. We can exchange tips. The hardest thing about this guitar was the paint job. It was extremely difficult getting the right, figuring out which look off the internet was the right one, the latest one, because every picture is different. And there's so many guitars that were floating around. You didn't know if you were looking at an original one, a reproduction one, somebody else, the Fender versions. There was so many. So I ended up using the pictures that I found of the guitar, Eddie's guitar, in the museum. And I tried to go with those pictures as much as possible to try and get the paint job as close as possible. But I mean, it's a challenge. So at the end of the day, you just have to make it your own. Yeah, it's fun projects though. I love building guitars. I wish I had time to build more. Dan of New Jersey says, I wish one day I could learn to spell. Don't worry about it, Dan. With AI and everything else, you won't have to learn how to spell anymore anyways. Edna Mode, that was the girl's name on the Incredibles. That was her name, yeah. I should know that by now. I've watched that so many times with my kids when they were like younger. But like I said, I have a good memory, but it's very short. Max says, thanks, I'll send you some photos. I already bought all of the parts for it. Oh, good. Where did you get the parts, Max? Is this something that I know there's some people out there that will create reproduction bodies and necks of like for EVH builds specifically. They're pretty expensive, but you're getting like really good quality stuff. So I'm wondering if you're getting it from there, or if you're just buying a body from one place and a neck from somewhere else and putting it together. Davis says, playing my EVH style build right now. Very cool, dude. Hey, I like that. I like the vibe. Rick says, yes, Tony, what do you think on my Frankenberry Frankenstrat? Sent you some pictures a while ago. Yes, I did see that, Rick. Very unique, man. I gotta say, it was very, like, it's a different take on it for sure. But it's cool because you made it your own, you know? Rick built his own and played around with some of the colors as well. So it's always cool to be able to do your own thing. I don't know if you guys have seen the other one that I built, which was like a stealth version. It wasn't the traditional white, red, and black. It was black and like a gunmetal. I've shown it on the channel a couple of times. That was fun. I had a lot of fun building that one too. There was one specific EVH guitar that I saw, and I want to find this for you. Give me a second. It blew my mind when I saw this one. If I can find it for you, I'm going to share it with you. Just give me a second here. It just popped up on in my feed the other day, and it blew my socks off that somebody could actually build this thing. But it's hard to find. Give me a second. I'm not sure who the builder was, but he did an amazing job on it. I wanted to save that picture for you guys. Hold on. Oh man, how come I can't find it today? Anyways, if I find it, I'll show you guys next week. But what it was it was basically, you know, a guitar like this, more like the Kramer version, the later version that he came up with. But all of the stripes were actual solid pieces of wood. So like the black stripes were one type of wood, the white stripes were another type of wood, the red stripes were another type of wood. So it was all basically pieces of wood put together like a puzzle. It was sanded down and was stained so you can see all the wood, and it looked fantastic. I could only imagine how much time it took the builder to make that thing. If you search for it, you might be able to find it somewhere. Amazing. There's very talented folks out there, let me tell you. Max says, I bought that EVH Wolfgang Special Black Stealth because of Tony's reviews and some other reviews. Only paid 800 euros for it. Max, I love that guitar. The Black Stealth was a very sweet, sweet guitar. I loved it. The only reason I got rid of it is because my fingers were a little bit too big for the neck at the nut. I don't know if you feel the same way about it or not, but I mentioned it in my video that it just feels slightly smaller up here at the nut, and because of that, I ended up selling it. Other than that, it's a fantastic guitar. And it feels smaller than it actually is. It feels like it's a smaller guitar just because of the shape of it, but it's a solid guitar. So I'm glad you got it, and I'm glad you like it. Kramer did make some great guitars in the 80s, absolutely. Cool Tone says, anyone have a clean amp that not happy with the overdrive? The Joyo Sweet Baby should fix that. Did I ever try the Joyo Sweet Baby? I don't remember. I may have. NFM says, hey Tony, have you seen the video of Geddy Lee giving bobsledding instructions? I did. We must be on the same feed at MFN. It just popped up in my feed yesterday, I think, or the day before yesterday. I thought it was an older video, but it was pretty funny. I love it. I love when he says, when you get to the bottom, you hand off your sled to the roadie so he can bring it back up to the top of the hill for you. I love that part of it. Pretty funny, man. Eddie says, I got a brand new German Floyd sitting here. Got to figure out what to do with it. Maybe a Super Strat build. Eddie, you don't waste your time, Eddie. Honestly, send it to me. I'll dispose of it for you. You won't have to worry about it anymore. Hey, it doesn't hurt to try, right? Yeah, I would recommend definitely doing something with that. If you have a German Floyd Rose, use it. They're great. They're not the same as the ones that are reproductions, I guarantee you. This one is also an original German version, the early ones too, with the flat screws. Imagine that instead of the hex. Danielle says, every time I see those locking nuts, I think I would tear up the side of my first finger if I had one. I do enough damage with a traditional bone nut. What do you mean tear up? Why? How would you do that? Do you play like this? I don't hit it most of the time. I don't know. I would have to try pretty hard. I love that overdrive, the overdrive, and the little last subtle echo with the delay in these sounds. What really makes these heavy metal sounds sound good is really the reverb. Let me get closer here. Shane says, I have an original Floyd Rose and a Floyd Rose Special. I think it just comes down to durability. They both work fine new. It depends. The Floyd Rose Specials, you can tell they're not as good. The quality of the metals are not as good as the original ones. The machining is not as good, not as precise as the original ones. But of course, they're a lot less expensive. So if they work for you, great. A lot of them are fine, I guess, depending on how aggressive you are with them. I could never get mine to stay in tune. That's one thing about the Floyd Rose. When you buy the original German version, I mean, they're all challenging to keep in tune anyway, depending on how aggressive you are. But I find that the German quality is a little bit easier to keep in tune, and it lasts longer too. Doesn't break on you, fall apart. Dan says, what would cause oscillation sound on tube amp, Vox AC30? Sort of like a tremolo sound, but I have it completely backed off. Dirty power, bad tubes? Tremolo. Usually if you have bad tubes, you would hear static. You would hear like that scratchy, staticky sound. Not really a tremolo sound. I'm not really sure what would cause that tremolo sound. Have you tried the connections, like just taking everything out, plugging everything back in, just to make sure everything's connected properly and all the way in. Sometimes I can't tell you how many times it's happened that I thought I had a problem and it was just a connection that wasn't in properly. D-Mac wants to know if anybody's played the new Keeley Super Rodent. I've heard it's got different sounds than just stacking an SD1 and a Proco Rat separately. I haven't tried it. At one point I was contemplating maybe picking up a Rat because I haven't ever had one. And then asking around, just asking friends, like, what do you think? And they're like, you're not missing anything. So I ended up not getting it. But I guess Keeley's take on it is, stacking them. It might sound better. I don't know. I've never tried it. Max says, sounds great, Tony. I'll buy it from you. Will $900 pay for it? It's not for sale, Max, unfortunately. I like to keep this one. Sorry, dude. Music and Gear says, Kahler 2700 was the best bridge ever built, also known as the Killer 2710. If you can find one, play it. This bridge was stopped by Floyd Rose back in '88, and the Kahler Spider was made. The Kahler stuff was good. I remember back in the day, the guitars that came out with the Kahler systems. As a matter of fact, if I'm not mistaken, Fender never, in the early days, never had Floyd Rose bridges on their guitars. They did have a Kahler version. It wasn't, I don't even know if it was an original Kahler. It probably was the Fender version or the Fender OEM version of the Kahler bridge. And I remember the Kahler bridges being very good. The ones that I've tried anyways back in the day. The only thing with those bridges was that you had to route out the body. It wasn't like a direct drop-in. You had to actually route it out. And for that reason, I wasn't a huge fan. It was pretty massive. But I think overall it probably worked better. I don't see them on guitars anymore. It's very... I can't remember the last time I saw a Kahler on a guitar. So apparently the new Floyd Rose is awesome. I heard the newer are US made versus old German build. Could be. Eddie says, I have a German Floyd that's 40 years old and still works perfectly. Yeah, I don't know how old this one is, but this one was sent to me by a viewer here, and it's the original one with the slots, and I don't know when that came out. Let me see here if I can date it quickly. Not really sure what year it came out. If I Google what year did Floyd Rose bridges have slotted posts. Let's see if I can get lucky here. So the thing was invented in 1976. I guess I'm going to have to do some sleepy time reading. There is information I found on the history and evolution of Ed's Floyd Rose tremolo, but that's specifically talking about Eddie Van Halen's tremolo here. So I don't really know what year they started or phased out the slotted slots there. Okay, should we talk about the poll question while we're at it here? Let's jump into it. Maybe some of you are waiting to get that question answered here. So the question today was, what's your favorite guitar body type? And it had a couple of options: solid, classic weight and tone, solid weight relieved, lighter with additional resonance, or semi-hollow, which I think is a perfect blend between warmth and bite, or something else, something different. So there was 214 votes, and 62% of you said solid, classic, weight, and tone. That would mean you're not a big fan of the weight relieved versions of these guitars, because only 22% of you selected weight relieved. I'm not sure if I fall into the category of the classic weight and tone, because some of those early guitars, including the early Les Paul style guitars, were extremely heavy. And I love the guitar, but I don't like the weight. So if that guitar was offered weight relieved, I would probably end up buying that instead. And I also am a very big fan of the semi-hollow guitar, which only got 16% of the votes on this poll question. So that's rather interesting. And there were a couple of comments. Someone here said solid, specifically an SG, good weight, good feel, and good looks. So I don't think that, to me anyways, the SG type guitars don't fall into the category where I normally want them to be weight relieved, because the body is so thin anyways that they're usually quite light. So I don't really, for me, the solid weight relieved option is really when I talk about Les Paul style guitars. Someone else here said my Telecaster thin line was my gateway to my weight relieved Les Paul Studio. Now my Studio is my all-time #1, might even sell my 9-pound Les Paul Standard. So here we have somebody that is definitely a fan of lighter guitars. And somebody else said Explorer, baby. And finally, I think Vinny's World said, for me, I don't think the difference between solid and solid weight relieved is really that perceivable once plugged in. I have a Gibson Les Paul that are supposedly weight relieved that are heavier than ones that aren't. So I think it's hit or miss even with even on the weight anyway. For my Fender stuff, I think of it more as how much flexibility I have under the pickguard. If I were to have my way, I'd go swimming pool route on everything with a pickguard. Now, I'm not a big fan of the swimming pool route. I know it's more flexible, because with a swimming pool route, you basically have the ability to put any type of pickup combination from 2 humbuckers, 1 single, 3 humbuckers, 1 humbucker, 2 single. You basically can put in everything you wanted. But I never really liked the look of it. When you pull off that pickguard and you see that big cavity with that big chunk of wood missing, it always turned me off. This is why I'm not a big fan of that. Did Gibson ever do a weight relieved Explorer? I don't know. They must have. I don't know. That's a good question. I would have to do some research on that. Max says I should be getting my new Vega Trem tremolo next week. Some say it's better than Floyd Rose 2. I need to test it myself. Well, I have 2, Max. 2 of them. And I love them. I like them a lot. Are they better than a Floyd Rose? I mean, you can do everything that a Floyd can do. The only difference is you don't have a locking nut. And for me, sometimes that's even better, because a lot of times, even with a locking nut, the guitar will go out of tune eventually. Then you have to open it up and retune it and lock it down again. It's just wasting time. For me, I prefer probably not to have the locking nut and just retune whenever it goes out of tune. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. But the floating feel of the Vega Trem is awesome. You're going to love it. Just let me know when you get it and install it and give me some feedback. I guarantee you're going to love it. It's a little tricky to install. I do have some videos on how I installed it. You can also check that out as well. It could help you out. Yeah, that's a good advice. Lonesome Lenny, and I love the name, by the way. I hope that's not true. But anyway, he says, always bring your guitar strap when trying out a guitar. Stand up with the guitar and see if it neck dives. That's good advice. And I rarely do that. When I'm in a store, I usually don't think about bringing a guitar strap. But you're right. Yeah. Hey, there was a couple of things I wanted to mention, and I got sidetracked with all the interesting conversation today. I didn't even talk about it, but I wanted to just say a couple of little things here. I got interesting information that jumped into my feed saying that the Norman's Rare Guitars is going to have a documentary released on the 31st, which is in 2 days actually, on Norman's Rare Guitars. So if you guys know the store, Norm's Rare Guitars is a store that's been around for a very long time. Norm is a very interesting character and has amazing guitars. And it's the store that a lot of big name artists will go to buy their gear, including Joe Bonamassa, Slash. I've even seen Sylvester Stallone's brother in there. I think Tom Petty at one point was in there. There was a lot of people that actually walked in and out with some guitar or amplifier or something over the years. And they always have amazing stuff. So they're going to be releasing a documentary. I even have a picture of Eddie Van Halen standing right there beside Norm, and Norm's holding a beer, and Eddie Van Halen's holding up a Les Paul. So interesting for sure. I'd love to see that. I think it's going to be very cool, and I think it's about time they give Norm some love. He's been a stand-up guy for many years. That, and also other good news is that for the Stevie Ray Vaughan fans out there, and I'm one of them, I'm a big Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, there's good news, because there's been a big struggle to be able to obtain clearance on a lot of material related to Stevie Ray Vaughan that has not seen the light of day, was not able to be released. After a year-long struggle to obtain clearance, Jimmy and Stevie Ray Vaughan's brother, basically Jimmy Vaughan, finally was able to stream in the UK and on Apple TV some additional footage of his brother. And there's stuff that's going to be trickling out. There's a new photo that was out with Stevie Ray Vaughan and Lenny, his girlfriend at the time. A picture that was taken in a photo booth that nobody's ever seen before. There's home movies. I think they're working on a documentary with some additional interviews with people like Eric Clapton and Jimmy Vaughan discussing the last show at the Alpine Valley. That's when the tragedy happened and Stevie Ray Vaughan lost his life. So we might be able to see some interesting new things trickling out if you're a Stevie Ray Vaughan fan, as I am. I've seen so many things like being, released over and over again, but it would be great to see some new stuff as well. And of course, I've mentioned this before and I'll mention it again. There's a new documentary also coming out called Becoming Led Zeppelin. And you can actually, I think for a short time, you might actually be able to see it in the IMAX format, which is fantastic. I believe it will be in IMAX format on February 7th. So maybe for a week or so. So if you're a big Led Zeppelin fan and you want to get the full experience of that documentary, I would say definitely try and catch it on the IMAX format. It's going to be fantastic with the full sound and video experience. So I'm looking forward to that. So I might treat myself to that. And finally, I think, if my information is also correct, Guns N' Roses have announced that they're going on tour in 2025, and they'll return to the road apparently in Europe and the Middle East. So if you're in Europe or the Middle East, that might be the time to catch them. They're going to be doing stadium tours throughout the summer, and apparently they're going to have special guests, including Public Enemy, Rival Sons. A big shout out goes to Rival Sons. I love these guys, as well as the Sex Pistols, featuring Frank Carter on select dates. So if you're a big fan of any of those bands, then, and you happen to be in Europe or the Middle East, the tour starts the 25th of May and I think continues to the 31st of July. So that's good news as well. So it's always great to hear that, you know, some bands are still touring. They're not done yet. Eddie Jr. says, Tony, if you keep going, we can all ring in the new year together. I don't know what time it is in your neck of the woods, Eddie, but here it's only 12:11. So I'm gonna have to talk quite a bit more. Jack says he's a serious theory on that. So am I, Jack. Oh man. And Shane wants to know, anyone here catch Musicians Mansion with Jared Dines? No, I didn't see that. No. When did that come out? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great stuff coming out. I can't wait. Hopefully new stuff as well. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. I was only planning to stay here chit-chatting for about an hour, and here we are an hour and 42 minutes later, and I'm still going. Still going. Jimmy Z just walked in the house, and we're wrapping it up. Jimmy, what's going on, dude? Yeah, I've been talking for about an hour, almost 2 hours now, Jimmy, so I'm gonna have to end it. You're gonna have to catch the next one. Rexomatic wants to know if I'm going to NAMM. I don't have plans of going to NAMM this year. I would love to, but I'm never in that neck of the woods. What am I gonna do? Excuse me, I gotta. Is anybody here going to NAMM or planning on going to NAMM? They're at Anaheim, the Anaheim Convention Center. And it's happening the January 23 to the 25th. So I'm not necessarily going to be able to make it. I'm sure a lot of other people will. I'm looking forward to hearing about, you know, new stuff that's coming out. It's always great because a lot of people are hush-hush till NAMM happens. And all of a sudden there's a tidal wave of new products. So I'm always looking forward to that time of year. I'm still hoping, crossing my fingers, that Marshall's going to come up with something interesting this year. I hope. Jack says, I don't care about Guns N' Roses because I hate Axl Rose. Fair enough. All right, guys. I'm going to wish you guys an excellent, excellent rest of your day. Please bring in the new year safely with lots of love. Hopefully you can spend it with your family and friends. Bring it in right. Enjoy yourselves. Make the most of it. If you're going to drink, don't drink and drive. I want to see you guys back here in 2025. And we'll follow up with a 2025 first show of the year next Sunday. So if you guys want to tune in for that, I'll be here. We can talk about it. We can see how everything went, who survived, who didn't, and continue our conversations about gear and other great things related to guitars and music. So I'll be here. I hope you guys will be here. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the channel. And if you're new and it's only the first or second time that you've jumped in, please continue to tune in. And please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. I'll have some new videos for you guys that will probably drop between now and the first week of the new year. So stay tuned for that as well. All right, guys, take it easy. Enjoy yourself. Have a happy new year. Lots of love, happiness, and prosperity for each and every one of you. And see you all soon. Have a good one, guys.